It's been a great honor for me. I've served in this job for a long, long time. This may get a little challenging for me. This is going to be my last year. And so at the end of the year, I'm going to be stepping down. I've made that decision because of my health issues that I have, but I'll still be somewhat involved with the committee, but I'm going to step down. I've also, that was one of the two things I hadn't stepped down from. I've been involved in a lot of stuff over the last 50 years in Paulding County. I'm also going to step down from my job as serving on the Western Buckeye Board. I've served in that job for about 40 years. So, with great honors tonight, I get to talk about all the elected officials that we've got elected over the years and help get elected, and the people that we've got to volunteer, and then Lori's going to introduce some other guests. And so I'd like to start off with our latest commissioner, Lisa McClure, who's with us this evening. If you stand. I haven't even talked to Mike tonight. Mike Weibel, is he here?
He's farming.
Oh, he's farming. Oh, he sent you as his replacement. Well, great. You got a great meal, and he's working in the field. Okay. So, Luann Wanamaker and Claudia, both our treasurer and our auditor, are not here this evening. Mark Holtzberg, our other commissioner, is not here. Travis McGarvey's not here. He was planning on being here. His mother-in-law, his wife's mother, is in the hospital, so they're dealing with that. We've got our prosecutor, Joe Burkhart, with us this evening. Our sheriff, Jason Landers. Joseph Kuhn, our coroner, was going to be here this evening, but he's retired from being a doctor here in the county. He's the only doctor we have in this county. And so he's the only person that can do that coroner's job. He called me yesterday. He says, I really need you to find somebody to take my place, and you got to figure this out. And I go, I'm not sure I can do that, Joe. So, but he got called in to work the emergency room at the hospital across the road here tonight, so he couldn't be here. So we got Roy Klopfenstein with us. He's going to speak in a little while. We're blessed to have from I call it up north, Mr. Jim Hoops, who I've known for a number of years, who used to represent us here. He's come down to spend the evening with us. I'm going to introduce next the Central Committee that makes all these things happen and helps raise money. And you know, we've been spending a lot of money over the last few years trying to get candidates elected. We fought the issue or tried to make sure we got it passed in our county, which we did a great job in August getting the votes out. But we really need to get a lot more votes out for the issue 1 and 2 coming up here in a few weeks. That's the early voting is going to start on October 11th, and that's only a few weeks away. And Kathy Wilson's going to have her hands full at the election board office getting that done, and she's been a great addition there. So the Central Committee, I'll go down the list here. Matt McDougal from the Elmwood Village, Mark Bennett from Benton Township, Barry Rupp from Paulding Township, who's our new treasurer. Travis McGarvey, of course, was not able to be here tonight. Lori Lucas from Allglaze Township, who's also the women's chair. Dave Birch from Paulding Village. Harry Wheat from the Paulding Village. One of our new additions to the committee, Caleb Miller from Harrison Township. I'm not sure he's here this evening. He probably had to work tonight, probably. He's a deputy sheriff. And so Dave Klein from Cariel Township, and he's the vice chair. Paul Ludwig from Blue Creek Township, Paul's a longtime committee member. Reverend Stan Harmon from Brown Township. Janet Cummers, our longtime secretary of the committee from Paulding Village. And myself, I represent Crane Township. So we're still looking for 2 people from, one from Jackson Township and one from Laddie Township to cover those 2 townships to be on the committee. At the beginning of the year, there was some legislation passed that eventually we could appoint someone from another township, but we've kind of resisted that at this point. We'd really like somebody from those townships. So, so if you know anybody from Jackson, huh? Yeah, I thought I did. Yeah, I did. I told Mark. So I got everybody. I went through the list before I come. I made a list. I wasn't going to wing it tonight. So, but yeah, we're still looking for a couple people. We're going to have some speakers speak, and I'm going to have Lori come up here in a minute, and she's going to cover some of the other guests that are here. There was a lot of other people came from outside the community, and so I want to let you know who those people are. We won't introduce everybody, but Lori, you want to come up, and then she's going to introduce the speakers for this evening. So thank you very much.
Okay, well, we have some guests in the audience. Scott Straley, who has pulled a petition to run for county engineer. So, works in Paulding County. Thank you, Scott. We have Hayden Ferguson, who is here for the Bernie Moreno campaign. We have Craig Riedel. Craig, there you are, who's running for U.S. Congress, and Steve Lankenauer, who is also running. My good buddy Lynn Gibbs is here. I couldn't do this without you. I love you. Penny Dewar. Penny is the AMAC Northwest Ohio representative. And then Cheryl and Joe, will you stand, Cheryl and Joe? You guys have been awesome. Thank you. They're our float coordinators, and they get the float out to all the parades and pass candy out. Thank you so much. And Sarah Shirk, are you here today? I don't. Okay. And she's our Republican candidate for recorder. And there's only 2 offices, right, Jerry, that the Republicans don't hold?
The recorders or the clerk of courts.
The clerk of courts and the recorder, so we're looking to pick up another seat here. So all my ladies, will you all stand from the Paulding County Republican Women? Okay, Cheryl, come on. Yes, and Shannon was here, but Shannon is a big LSU fan, so she had to run home to see the end of the football game, and then she'll be back. That's what you call a diehard LSU fan. Okay, we're going to start off. Our first speaker, Barry, talked him right into this. He's our treasurer, and he has a few comments to make.
Hello, everybody. I hope everybody's had a good evening. And could you please give Grants an applause, too, for the 5 minutes? I'm here to do something that is very uncomfortable for me. And it's not the speaking part. It's asking for money and asking for you people to support the work we do. Right here tonight, we have plenty of fundraisers to be aware of. There will be a live auction of some pies and a cake? Or just the pies? Okay, just the pies.
The
Okay.
cake's for my husband, so whoever bids on that carrot cake is going to get overbid because that's his favorite.
Okay. We have a gun raffle going on, 2 rifles and a pistol, and we also have a silent auction. So please spend money if you can. Also, the Central Committee, we know that we've got a battle coming in this next election with Issue 1 and Issue 2. And we need money because we need to work. We need to get out and reach the voters, hopefully in a way that it expands outside of this county. Because we really need to push. This is more about a fight between good and evil, in my mind. And we need money to get the job done. So if you haven't brought money or a checkbook, There are envelopes back there that I will put a sticker on with my name and address, and just pick up an envelope and mail it to me. We appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Barry. Next, we're going to have Roy. Roy's going to come up and give us a short, about 10 minutes, Roy, and give us some information on what's happening with issue 1.
I got the 5 extra points.
I'm not even sure why she said short. Jason's after me. You know, I'm surrounded by friends, but I also want to call out Jim Hoops again. Senator McCulley was sick, or he would have been here. I work with 2 of the finest folks, 2 people that always have my back, think like we do, and they tell the truth. It's a neat concept. We're used to it. It don't work out so well down there. But thanks, Jim. Thanks for being here. Give Jim another hand. I'm going to take a little different angle on issue 1. Is there anyone in this room that when Roe v. Wade was turned over ever thought we would be in the position we're in today? We are in a position that none of us imagined, and we have a whole host of things that are working against us. The simplest one, and hopefully someday this will get corrected, there can be 3 issue 1s in 1 year. You can have an issue 1 in a primary. You can have an issue 1 in the August election. You can have issue 1 in the fall. People are confused. There are an incredible lot of people that still don't know what issue 1 is about this fall. And we're about to start voting. I want to talk about, and I'm not going to talk about the issue itself that much. We know what it is. It's to put in our Constitution the ability to have an abortion through birth. Regardless of what I believe or you believe, the only way we will win this is to convert the people that are going to vote no. My personal belief, life begins at conception. But if I go up to somebody that says abortion is a right, the heartbeat bill is too extreme, I will not win their vote. And folks, we need to win this, because this is my prediction. It took 50 years to overturn Roe v. Wade. Had nothing to do with abortion. It had to do with state rights. Bad law lasted 50 years, over a generation. This will last just as long if it passes. So how do we convert the no's? I'm not going to convert them by saying life begins at conception. We have to convert them, and this is what the polling shows. There are very few people, D's, R's, independents, moms, dads, grandmas, that believe in a 9-month, fully developed baby that is livable outside the womb to be killed at birth. We have to talk about the extremes that can happen if this goes on the Constitution. The way it is written, and the attorneys in here can straighten me out, if you read this, it reads very simple. It's done for a purpose. It's written very broad. The interpretation of it is very broad. It's not defined. As a non-lawyer, You know what I interpret that as? Anything goes. If we're going to win this, I say we have to put aside maybe our personal beliefs that are correct. That person that's in your family that says, well, 6 weeks heartbeat, Bill, you don't even know you're pregnant, that's too extreme. You'd like to rip their face off. You can't. You have to talk to them about, can you imagine a fully developed baby, 9 months old, being killed? We have to approach this different. We have to convert how they think, because I contend many of the folks that are voting are confused. They don't get it. It's another issue. One, they don't, whatever. What we need to talk about, and this is what the polling shows, and good knows I don't believe all polling, but the only way to convert them to saying, you know what, this is too extreme, let's live for another day. We need to defeat this. And we will not defeat it. And I'll talk to myself. If I get in somebody's face and say, life begins at conception, we will lose. Yeah. So I am asking you, talk to people that don't know how they're going to vote. Talk to them about the extreme possibilities coming out of this constitutional amendment. I'm not going to say a lot more about it. I think we're all in agreement in this room. There is a difference from a Paulding, Defiance, Van Wert, Putnam County Republican to a Franklin, Cuyahoga County Republican. If you have friends in cities, friends anywhere, you have to talk to them about the extreme possibilities of issue 1. Issue 2. I asked Jason to talk about issue 2 from the law enforcement side. But I want you to process, and he'll tell you that side of it. I want you to think about issue 2, which is the legalization of recreational marijuana. Who in here has a business? You don't have to hold your hand. Who in here buys something from a business? That's everybody. Who in here buys insurance? Everybody. The cost to business from legalization of marijuana is incredible, and here's why. It stays in your system 30 days, so any industrial accident, any trucking accident, any automobile accident where the person has used recreational marijuana, you can't prove when they used it. I don't think it will be defensible in court, or I think the attorneys, and straighten me out, but folks, how do you insure industrial liability if you can't prove the person is high? I guarantee you insurance companies are not going to lose money. They are going to raise rates. And it will affect every single one of us because we're consumers. I will let Jason talk to the legalization from the law enforcement side. But thank you. Thanks to everyone that's here tonight. I appreciate your support. I would say I'm having more fun than I can believe, but that's not the truth. But my good friend, Jason Landers, will you speak on that?
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. So I'm going to talk to you for just, I could talk a lot about this. I understand I have a short amount of time. So when Roy told me, or asked me if I could speak for a couple minutes, a lot of times I say I could say hello for a couple minutes and just introduce myself. So I'll do the best I can to talk quickly just so we can move on through the agenda stuff. Listen, recreational marijuana is coming, right? I mean, we can see it in the forefront. Not only am I the sheriff here at Paulding, I am in the second vice president and the board of directors for the Buckeye State Sheriff's Association. So I'm in Columbus a lot to learn what's happening right out of the State House and try to keep a pulse on things that are moving. We have a very active lobbyist that's in the State House. It's delivering information to us. It has his finger on the pulse as well. It's coming. We know it's coming. Here's the deal. It doesn't need to be an amendment issue. It doesn't need to be a ballot issue. My opinion is, and I've shared this with Roy, we've talked a lot about this before Roy was in his position. If this is going to happen, it should be legislated. So there's some controls over what happens with it. And that's my belief. If it's going to be a ballot issue, now this isn't going to be a constitutional amendment, as I understand it. So there will be some ability for the legislators to correct what is bad in this ballot issue if it passes. But we know how legislation works. It's a snail's pace. That's the process. It's not fast. We understand that. Those of us that pay attention to it understand that. Even though I'm not a legislator, but I pay a lot of attention to it in my role. So, marijuana, this is going to be a bad thing. But listen, there's bipartisan support for this. And one reason I believe that the wheels are turning in Columbus to legalize this stuff is the controls, if you will, the oversight of medicinal marijuana was under the Board of Pharmacy. They were law enforcement officers that controlled that issue, that policed those entities through the medicinal marijuana process, from the cultivators to the distributors, those types of things. That has transitioned to commerce. So what does that tell you? When it was under the Board of Pharmacy, where there's controls and the people responsible for holding them accountable were law enforcement officers, trained law enforcement officers, they ruffled too many feathers of the money behind marijuana. Those aren't typically Ohio people. This stuff is funded from folks from California and New York. If you look at the LLCs and the people responsible for marijuana distribution centers and cultivation centers, it's not Ohio money. Now, they might have an Ohio address today because for the past few years they might have moved, but the money coming from that are very wealthy folks that don't live here in Ohio. Our laws are being affected by the influence of cash coming from several states away. So now it's going to be moved under the control of the Department of Commerce. Well, what's that? That's funding cash, and there's bipartisan support through that. So listen, whether we agree with it or not, I can pound my fist and argue, and I've done all those things in our board meeting with my colleagues, but we got to understand we can either get on the train and figure out how to deal with it and try to write it so we can have some controls over this product that's coming our way in a recreational fashion, or we're going to have to deal with what we're handed. So Roy asked me to talk about the enforcement side. So I'll share with you this. In 2015, I was one of 30 sheriffs in the country that was selected to go to Denver, Colorado, to the National Sheriff's Institute to have some executive level training and help myself to come back here and hopefully be a better sheriff for my office and my deputies and for you folks. And what we learned out there, it was not long after recreational marijuana was legalized in Colorado. And so we got to spend a lot of time with the law enforcement out there. And so the questions were, what are you seeing? What's happening? Well, here's what they were seeing. Number one, their driving-related offenses and crashes were skyrocketing involved with cannabis. Well, what happens? Today when let's just say we have an alcohol-related crash. We have roadside testing, field sobriety test, things to articulate our impairment, and then we have machines that we can operate in a fairly reasonable amount of time to give us some evidence to your impairment. With marijuana, we don't have that business. So what we have today in our language is called a DRE, a drug recognition expert. And those patrol officers that are DREs, drug recognition experts, are the people that handle these roadside tests to determine your level of impairment and what type of a substance you might be impaired by. You can be removed from the scene and brought to an off-site location for those testing. It's a very long, drawn-out process. If you've ever seen it or hopefully not experienced it, it's a long process. You have to darn near be a doctor to pass the testing, to get the credentials to be a DRE. Now, I love my deputies. They are very special to me. They do a very, very good job serving you folks. But I'm not sure I have very many, if any, that are going to go through the testing and can pass the testing. And I'm not discrediting my deputies at all, to become a DRE, to be able to deal with people driving under the potential influence of cannabis. Now there's other things. There's blood testing, there's urine testing, and there's things that can be done to give the prosecutors some evidence to support driving under the influence. The second thing and the most disturbing thing to me, and I've told this story a lot, and I think this is what Roy really wanted me to share with you. The captain that I was with from the Aurora County Sheriff's Office, he and I were in a conversation one-on-one, and he says, here's our biggest issue. You wouldn't believe it. The drug cartel bought up every open storefront in Denver. He said, Sheriff, you won't find an empty store in our city. They are all bought up immediately when this passed by the drug cartel. You can walk in there and people do everyday businessmen, whoever. There's no real demographic that this affects. Everyone walks in the door and you have a coupon. Heck, I had coupons at my hotel bar for a $12 joint. So he says you go into the marijuana store with your coupon, you buy a high-powered $12 joint. Now, when I talk about, when I was born in the 70s, I talk about the 70s, I talk about ditchweed and that type of marijuana that people might ingest. That's one thing. That's what a lot of people think marijuana is. Today, folks, it is not. It's 80% THC. There's some they want to make it 90% THC. So this is not ditchweed. This is manufactured, high-powered, potent marijuana that they want to sell to you in a $12 joint. So he says, here's what happened. We started to have mom and pop shops popping up in grandma's basement on this nice little side street in our village, and the kids are selling $2 joints out of the window. So it just there's your legal operation. So you can go, and some people might just go right into the business, buy their marijuana however they want, pick your flavor, pick your potency, pick your product, and leave. But if I don't want to pay $12 for some cannabis, I just go down Woodring Street to grandma's house and buy it from Johnny for $2. So that illegal operation still happens. We still have that stuff to deal with. And he said it's really disturbing to see that process, what we've seen through the legalization of marijuana. You walk in a store and buy it, and now we see the drug trafficking happening in residents in neighborhoods that you would never expect because they're undercutting the legal business uptown on their street. I don't want to see that happen to us. We have our hands full here in Paulding County. We're a pretty rural county, as you know, by population. If you read our newspapers, we have our hands full dealing with this meth problem that we deal with right now. You know, we had some crack cocaine recently that we haven't seen in a long, long time. You know, so, people say, you have a really bad drug problem. Well, drugs change. Those things change. Right now, we're dealing with crystal meth. It's all coming from Mexico. It's coming right from the cartel, comes right up through Indianapolis to Fort Wayne, across to Toledo, and up to Detroit. We're a part of a multi-area narcotics task force, and I have a full-time deputy assigned to that. He works that thing more than 40 hours a week as needed on his time off, and we partner with 10 other agencies and some state and federal agencies to try to combat and stay ahead of what we're dealing with today. So if we have to deal with legalized marijuana, that's going to be a completely different complex issue from an enforcement standpoint. What's more concerning to me from a manpower deal is what's going to happen in the black market on the side streets that we don't have today. So I appreciate your time. I could talk about this for a long time, and I'll be here if you have any comments after that. But I really hope that this is a no issue in November. Again, talking with Roy, we talk quite a bit. We have a fantastic relationship. I think this should be a legislative issue that our legislative folks should really take. They know what's going on in Columbus. They know this train's coming at us, and write the rules to try to have some controls over this thing if it's gonna happen. So thank you very much for your time. Hopefully I didn't talk to you.
Okay, we changed the order a little bit because I had one list and Jerry had another list, so I'm going by my list. Women get to do that. Craig, you are up first. Craig Riedel? running for U.S. Congress.
Hello, everybody. Hey, it's great to see everybody. This is kind of, I was telling Danette coming down tonight, I knew I was going to see a lot of friends, and I've seen a lot of friends here. It's good to be home. It's good to be back, to see you all. As Lori said, and Lori, thank you, and Jerry, thank you both for your service. Jerry, thank you. So I'll introduce myself for those who don't know me. My name is Craig Riedel, and I am running for Congress. And I aim to end Marcy Kaptur's congressional career in 2020. We're going to do it. We're absolutely going to do it. Danette and I live in Defiance. We've been married for 35 years in a couple weeks here. We have a son and a daughter. And our son and his wife have given us 3 granddaughters. We're very blessed. I grew up on a farm in Seneca County near Tiffin. My parents owned 40 acres. I had 3 brothers. We boarded standardbred horses on that farm, so we learned how to work hard. I graduated from a small high school called Seneca East, went on to Ohio State. I earned a civil engineering degree. And when I graduated, I took a job with Nucor Steel. And that's what brought Danette and I out here to this part of Ohio. We moved to Defiance back in 1989. I worked at Nucor Steel for 27 years. Only company I ever worked for, great company. I retired from there in June of 15, 8 years ago. It's hard to believe. And I ran for state representative. And we won, and then I won 2 more elections after that. So I was a state rep for 6 years, and that was an unbelievable blessing. Just an unbelievable honor to be able to do that. And I'm so glad Roy has followed behind me, and he's doing a great job. Him and Jim are both doing terrific jobs for all of us, including Danette and I. I believe in limited government, fiscal responsibility, free market principles. Danette and I are pro-life. I'm a staunch Second Amendment defender and a gun owner. This is a winnable race, okay? We're in the 5th congressional right here, and Bob Latta is your congressman here in Paulding County. The 9th congressional district that I'm running in against Marcy Kaptur includes Defiance County, Williams County, Fulton, Lucas, Ottawa, Erie, Sandusky counties in their entirety, then the northern tip, Perrysburg Township of Wood County. That map is a Republican map. It's a Republican map. It's rated as an R+4. To put that in comparison, the 5th congressional district that you live here with Bob Latta, that's about an R18, R19 map, R17. So it's not as conservative as it is through here with Bob Latta's map, but it's winnable. It's a Republican map. We are going to beat Marcy Kaptur. We will beat her. We're going to do it. We're going to do it. And here's how we're going to do it. Here's how we're going to do it. First off, we have a great team. I have just a terrific team around me, and everybody's working hard. We have a great game plan, and we're executing at a very, very high level. So since we announced our candidacy back in early April, we've been able to raise, and this is very important, we've been able to fundraise for our campaign $750,000, $750,000. That's what it takes to beat Marcy. It's going to take $3 million. 3. We're on our way. We're on our way. But we're working incredibly hard. I'm very humbled, very honored to say that the Republican Party has coalesced behind our campaign. We've been endorsed by a dozen congressmen, Jim Jordan, Max Miller, Kevin McCarthy, Steve Scalise, Elise Stefanik. Very humbled and honored to have their support. On the state, local level, 20 state reps and senators. Senator Rob McCulley, Representative Roy Klopfenstein, 18 other state reps and senators, a multiple of county chairs, sheriffs, and mayors in the 9th congressional district. So we have the support on the federal, state, and the grassroots level. We're going to win. They know we're the one to beat Marcy Kaptur. We will beat her. We have the resources to do it, and we're going to take her out. We're going to permanently retire her once and for all. So I know you all here, a lot of you here in Paulding County, unfortunately, darn it, you can't vote for me anymore. You got to vote for Roy and Rob, but I'll tell you this. Couple of things. One, those that you do know that live in the 9th Congressional, Defiance, Williams, Fulton, Lucas, Ottawa, Erie, Sandusky counties, I'm sure you all have family, friends up that way. Please tell them about our campaign. Please tell them. If they want to get rid of Marcy, I'm the one. I will beat her. I will beat her. Okay? Please tell your friends and family that live in the district. Number 2, and most importantly, for those of you who cannot vote for us, we ask for your prayers. We ask for your prayers very humbly. This is going to be hard. This is going to be hard because she doesn't play fair. She's going to drum something up. Craig's too pro-life. Craig's corporate. He's a corporate elitist. Whatever that playbook is. Okay, this is going to be hard, so we ask for your prayers. But we are going to beat her. Winston Churchill said, "Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It's the courage to continue that counts. It's the courage to continue that counts." This is our time. This is our time. We're going to win this. So thank you all very much. God bless you all. Let's do this. Thank you.
Next, I should have Kathy come up here and introduce her because Kathy met her at the Putnam County Lincoln Reagan. And she comes to me and she goes, "Oh, Lori, you got to have her come speak. You have got to have her." I asked her to come speak. I said, "Okay, that's okay with me." So she said, Megan Shanahan sent an email and said to Kathy and said, "Do you still want me to speak?" And I wrote back to Kathy and I said, "Oh, heck yes, we want her to speak." So.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Megan Shanahan, and I am one of your next Ohio Supreme Court justices. I've been a practicing attorney for 23 years now. I spent 11 years as an assistant prosecutor, and then I ran in Hamilton County, which at that time was still red. I won overwhelmingly in 2011 with 65% of the vote. I held the seat in 13, and in 15 I was appointed up to Common Pleas Court. That's the court where you can go to prison. Anything from capital murder down to drugs, any case valued at more than $15,000. I practiced almost my entire career in that court, so I have thoroughly enjoyed the job. In 2016, Hamilton County was trending purple, and I had to hold that seat, and I did so with 62% of the vote. I never took my foot off the gas. I'm the youngest of 8 kids. I came from a single mother who barely graduated high school. So there was one way, and only one way, that I was going to be able to accomplish each of these wins, and that was with hard work. So I never took my foot off the gas. In 2022, I was up for re-election to hold my seat in what is now solidly blue Hamilton County. I never took my foot off the gas. I outperformed every single Republican on the ballot, with the exception of Mike DeWine and Dave Yost, including our beloved justices on the Supreme Court right now. I will do the same for you, for the state of Ohio, for my children, for my family, for God, next year. There are 3 seats up next year, and I put these around on your table because some folks are concerned. They're like, wait a minute, 3? Who are you running against? Which one of our Republicans? No, we do not have a primary, the 3 of us. There's Justice Donnelly out of Cleveland and Justice Melody Stewart out of Cleveland, and we are going to take those seats, and we are going to hold them for the conservatives. Justice Dieters is up also for the seat that he was appointed to. He is going to challenge Melody Stewart. I am going to challenge Mike Donnelly. And Dan Hawkins, who I know if you haven't met him, you will, is going to run for the seat that Joe Dieters is holding. So there are 3 Republican seats up, but let me explain why it is so incredibly important that we win every one of these 3 seats. What happened around 2015, 16, 17? We all took our eye off the ball on the Supreme Court. Everybody thought, what? Those people in those black robes, they sit up there, they make decisions. This doesn't really affect our daily lives. Oh dear Lord, have we learned otherwise these last couple of years. And we are all feeling the impact of who is on that court in the decisions they make, and whether or not they decide to create and invent law or just follow the law like they took an oath to uphold the Constitution, or to just insert their beliefs in the Constitution. We can't take our eye off this ball because we are losing our beloved Justice Pat Fisher. He is age limited out and cannot run again. Shockingly, our Chief Justice, Sharon Kennedy, can only run 1 more time. Justice DeWine, 2 times. And Justice Deters will be a 1-term justice. Ladies and gentlemen, it is going to be a very long time before we have this opportunity to put in conservative justices who can hold these seats for a long time. Dan Hawkins and I have very user-friendly websites. You can go on and see that we are constitutional conservatives from our past decisions. We need some longevity there, and we are the team, the 3 of us, that will bring that. Ironically, we all come from prosecutorial backgrounds. Justice Deters was the county prosecutor in Hamilton County for many, many years, longest serving prosecutor in Ohio. Dan Hawkins and I both practiced as assistant prosecuting attorneys, prosecuting the worst of the worst, people who perpetrated against children and women, horrible crimes. We care about our community. We care about the protection that is afforded to us in our Constitution and in the laws of Ohio. We worry every day about the future and what's happening. It's places like Paulding County, Defiance. These are the places that matter to us because this is our people. You are our people. You get it. You're just like me. I guarantee there are people sitting in this room that grew up exactly like I did. Huge family, single mom, barely holding a roof over your head. But you're here because you love this country, and so do I. I have every intention of being your next Ohio Supreme Court Justice, and I have every intention of every one of you knowing me quite well between now and November of 24. I thank you for your time. God bless Paulding County. God bless Ohio, and God bless America.
Thank you so much, Megan. All right, our next speaker I met just recently, and I just so enjoy him. Steve Lankenauer, who is also running for 9th District.
Yes, my name is Steve Lankenau. I am a candidate for Congress in Ohio's 9th Congressional District. Before my prepared remarks, I'd like to make a few comments. Concerning issue 1, to Roy, I want to say that your advice and your direction was intelligently and beautifully articulated. I was making mental notes myself, and I glanced at the crowd, and I think many folks here were doing so as well. So thank you for that. And a word to all of the elected officials, particularly the local elected officials. Having done that work myself a long time ago, I don't think you can hear too often a thanks for the work that you do. It is what they call yeoman's work. It is hard, and I know from experience that you never get away from it. They find you on your phone, they find you at the grocery, they find you at church. And what do you folks do? You listen, and you listen, and you solve many problems. And for your efforts, I want to say thanks. I'd like to take an opportunity to introduce my wife, Sally. Wave to the crowd. She is my partner in life, and she is my partner in this campaign. I can sum it up by saying she is absolutely positively the better half of us. And finally, I want to say a word to all of the Paulding County Republicans for having a Lincoln Day that recognizes not one great president, but two. I look for any opportunity to wear my Ronald Reagan socks, and I absolutely think that other counties around the state of Ohio should take your cue and recognize Ronald Reagan as well as the great Abraham Lincoln. So thank you for that. When I was in my early 20s, I ran for mayor of the city of Napoleon and defeated a long-term Democrat incumbent. But after 3 terms in office, I knew I didn't want to be a career politician. So for the next 30 years, I've been in the private sector, creating jobs, starting businesses, turning businesses around. And in all that time, one thing has always been true, and that is that we must defeat Marcy Kaptur. And I believe in my heart that next year, finally, working together, we're going to defeat another long-term Democrat incumbent. Thank you all. God bless you all. And God bless the USA. Thank you.
Couple of corrections here while we're at this point before we introduce Joe. Harvey Hyman Jr. snuck in and I missed him tonight. Our new probate court judge will be on the ballot this fall, or this spring. I hear he's doing a really good job, so that's all I know. So, and the other one is Kim Preset. Who are you working for now? We can't remember.
General Dave Yost.
Dave Yost, okay. So she's here tonight.
All right, one more speaker before Joe. Hayden. I met Hayden, I don't know, a year, 2 years ago, and he's just so much fun, and he is such a hard worker for whoever he campaigns for. And so first I asked him, because he is younger than me, to give us some tips on how to get young people involved in this, to get them on our side, to get them conservative, to get them recruited. And then he is with the Bernie Moreno campaign, and so he's just going to say a couple words about that, but he's going to talk about getting the young people involved.
As Lori said, my name is Hayden Ferguson, and apparently I'm supposed to talk about one of the most important, but also one of the most challenging tasks the Republican Party faces today: getting young people involved. I got involved at 12. I'm an exception. I understand that. That's not the typical path that someone at 12 years old takes. But what we need to understand is that the basis of this needs to lie in education. We need to, okay, first off, let me ask, is there anybody in here who's running for school board? Okay, are there any open seats for school board, and is there anybody considering running for school board? Okay. Oh, we do. Anybody on the school board currently? All right, give her a round of applause. Because when conservatives control the school boards in your regional educational service centers and the curriculum by which your students are taught, that is step number one. Because if you remember when President Trump was president the first time, I say the first time because we're going to reelect him in 24, correct? When he was president the first time, he began the 1776 Commission because he understands that when you remove history from the schools, you begin a bad pattern of teaching children to hate their country. This country wasn't founded because people didn't have belief in the nation in which they were building. It was because they believed in something greater for the future, something that was rooted in the Word of God. We need to get back to that. We need. So, my best suggestion is to read to your children. Read the Bible to your children. Read history, real history, to your children. Bring them to meetings and events. When they're old enough, bring them to meet candidates. Let them be immersed in the experience. Let them go to job shadow any elected official, whether it be a state house candidate like I did when I was much younger than I am right now, or anybody who is involved in the process, because that's how we get people involved and engaged. When we don't accept younger individuals into the party, we're setting ourselves up for extinction as Republicans. But I'll tell you what, I've traveled the state, and I'll get to part of the reason I've been traveling the state here in just a second. I've met countless young individuals all across Ohio. A couple months ago, I spoke on a panel with Kash Patel and Bernie Moreno, with 5 other young conservative leaders across Ohio, all engaged in different aspects, whether Turning Point or self-started conservative organizations, podcasts, media type interests, or whatever. The future is strong for our country. Get your children to volunteer, knock doors for candidates who are going to stand for the country, because that's part of what's important. Doing the groundwork, learning how to do the jobs that are important. So, now I'll talk a little bit about what my current project is. Bernie Moreno is running to get rid of Sherrod Brown. But I know you've all heard this before. Someone's running against Sherrod Brown, and we see who's still our senator from Ohio, Sherrod Brown. So what makes Bernie different? Bernie is a businessman and a job creator, not a politician. He's never been on a ballot before. He's running as a first-generation immigrant from Colombia, South America, whose family came here when he was 5 because of the American dream. Bernie was able to become a citizen at 18, went to University of Michigan, always wanted to work in the automotive industry. So he had the opportunity to run a dealership. A few years later, he had the chance to purchase a dealership. It was the worst performing dealership in the area. They were ready to close it down. It was selling something to the effect of 4 cars a month. And by the end of his first month, they sold 80 cars. He was able to flip multiple other dealerships, turn them far more successful. He sold those and started a technology company, which is the first commercial application of blockchain, digitizing car titles, saving a state like West Virginia millions of dollars a year just by not having to print out the paper titles. Young Republican, glad to see it. He's now sold those companies because he believes that when running for elected office, he should have no conflicts of interest. He is, however, the Ohio chair of the U.S. Term Limits Commission, and he has publicly signed a pledge stating that if elected, he will serve 2 terms, 12 years, and then go home and play with his grandchildren. I'll give you some quick statistics on the campaign. Bernie himself has visited over 70 counties. He's been to Paulding how many times? At least 3 times, and he'll be here a lot more. How many of you have had the chance to meet Bernie, by the way? All right, so there's a few of you he hasn't met yet, but Lori's going to make that happen. Lori's been a great chair. Let's give her another hand. She's been phenomenal. Bernie has received financial contributions from all 88 counties, and I'm proud to announce that as of tonight, we've also gathered signatures to get Bernie on the ballot from all 88 counties across the state. My friend from Van Wert, where'd you go? Van Wert friends and Judy, y'all closed us out, 88 counties, so thank you very much. But Bernie stands for the American dream, because he's had the opportunity to live it, and he wants to make sure that your kids who are going to get involved at a young age and help turn this country around, he wants to leave the country better off for them, because he has grandchildren and children just like you do. He wants to leave it better off for tomorrow. Thank you very much.